Hello, welcome to another video series of exploration for LangSmith and LangGraph. Today we're going to look at the research agent which are going to do some planning, which are going to do some parallelized research. While doing the parallelized research, we're going to have some decision strategy that's been going to be taken care by agents to call which tool, basis on the decision or the query that's been provided to them. And then finally, we'll look at how the writing is being going to be done and then create a final report. So if you're looking at my screen, this is the thing that we're going to have. We will have a topic to be provided by a user. We'll have a report outline to be provided by user. Now, this is one place where we felt that, if you have a report outline in your mind for especially doing the task like researches, it becomes much easier to get the desired output in a way that you would want, because we would have certain default prompts that we would have definitely created for the report structure, which we have already done in our case today. But you could define essentially your report outline so that it becomes easier for the planner what sections that it really needs to focus on for the researching. Now, if you look at it in the planning section, what it is going to look at based on the structure, what we are saying that, intro and conclusion. These are the two parts which really don't need any web research. I mean, you don't need to do some researches for the introduction and conclusion to be created. You could simply, create it on the basis of the entire report, and then there is no research needed. So you could save some cost, you could save some token cost for, for skipping by skipping that part. So we'll look at how we are taking a call on that, how we are deciding that. That's fairly a pedantic model that we have created under hood, and which does some, again, decision basis on whether research to be performed for that section or not. Now, what is happening in the section 1 and section 2? Basis on the user queries that is being provided, there are certain subsections that we have created, using our search queries that we create using Tavily API. Now, once those search queries creates a certain subsections, we pass it on to doing some parallelized research. At this stage on the parallelized research, we call it as router, or a decision strategy. People also call it as meta prompt, which eventually does all the hard work of defining which tool to be picked up based on the subquery that it has created for your parallelized search. Now, for an instance, your search may be related to something, a code generation, a subquery. So you could essentially call your tool for the code generation. Your query might be related to a web research. You can then, basis on the subquery that you have gotten, you could really call your another tool, that is web search tool. Or if none of the decisions prescribes to any of the tools, then do nothing. Basically, basis on your model's decision, you model's knowledge, you just answer it basis on that, and then do nothing on that specific subquery. So there are certain decisions that you could define in. It's purely something that we have called it as router, and basis on those parallelized search, within those parallelized subsections, what we are creating, what we are also doing is we are doing a parallelized writing. So essentially, you are doing a web research for the certain subtopics, and you are writing them, in parallel. Now, once those parallel writing is being done, finally you create a report. So that's precisely, we could do for doing a report creation for a research, and then have an intelligent decision making on which tool to pick up and which tool not to pick up. All right, cool. So let's go back to our application, what we are looking at today, and then look at how it's going to perform basis on the prompt and the structure that we provide. So what we are doing is we are providing a topic. We are saying NVIDIA Q3 report, and it's focused on generative AI. It could be any topic that you could create. Now, like I said, this is the planning phase. You are defining your report structure. You could define what is the introduction, what is the main body of sections that you would want to create, and finally, you would want some conclusion or summary in the end of the report. Now, this could be purely something based on what you would need. You may say that I don't need a conclusion. Fair enough. You could remove it. You could say that I don't need an introduction. Instead, I just need a main body of sections and, just do the research report. So fairly, that's fine. So you could define what report structure, it's an optional thing, what you could do. Now, as soon as you say generate report, the process will kick off. It will does the generation and finally give you the report. Overall process takes somewhere around, almost 1.5 minutes. That's what I've seen, which is not bad, considering the amount of things that's happening under the hood. So now let's look at few things from the code perspective, what we are really doing. And in the meantime, the reports get generated. Let's look at few things that we are doing under hood. All right, so like I said, there are certain things that are happening, for creating the subsections. Now, this is the piece which is responsible fairly for creating the subsections, and for creating the subsections from the given topic that's been provided, and it takes a call whether to perform a web research or not for the given topic. So we'll see surely at the output of this, as well as always using our LangGraph, which is an observability tool, and that gives us fairly good approach for us to understand what's happening under root for each of our prompt. The piece that I wanted to show from the code perspective is the decision strategy, what we are doing for the meta prompt. So we will continue to expand it out, but that's fairly what we are doing is we are doing some decision basis on the report that is being provided. Now, there are certain tools that you may have. You may have a web research tool, you may have a Wikipedia, or none of them. Now, in our case, yeah, we are looking at only two tools at this stage. So, I'm just restricting myself to use two tools, but then you could expand it out to, like I said, to the code generation or any other tools basis on the prompt that subtopic that it gets created. Now, these are certain pieces that we are doing for the decision prompt. Yeah, it takes from the basis of the prompt what needs to be done. Similarly, all these are async calls that are happening. Another piece, that quickly I wanted to cover is, from the Tevili API, what we do is we again, do an async call on the Tevili API as well, so that it saves some time for while it doing the web search for the given topics. So one thing that we consciously do is we basically get multiple queries created basis on the specific subquery, and then finally, what we do is we remove the deduplication, we remove the duplicate sources basis on the research report output that it does for the subsection. So that's fairly, think of it like an MQR that we also do in RAG, where you fan out one query into multiple subqueries, and then you finally um, take a call on the that finally improve the results for the given output. So that's fairly things that we are doing. So there are different prompts that are happening. I'll check in this piece of entire repo in my GitHub repo, entire code in my GitHub repo for anyone to look at it. All right, so let's look at few pieces from our end, what's happening from the from the observability perspective. Let's look at quickly on the LangGraph side, on the LangSmith side. What we are doing is, so we have run this report, and then let's refresh it. It's not the latest one. Okay, so here it is. Let's look at this. If you look at it, these are the certain sections which are happening in this entire piece. First thing first, generate report plan. Let's look at what is happening in this. So we are given certain input, which is the input prompt for the planner, so that it can generate certain subqueries out of the given subsection. So if you look at it, the idea was that it can create certain subqueries given on the specific sections or the topics that it has been provided. Now, if you look at the interesting part, okay. So let's look at this, the piece that we were looking in the section in our prompt. Now, if you look at it, it says introduction, and it has certain description that is being provided. Now, if you look at it, the research flag that is being given is false. So what it fairly means for the introduction, you don't need to conduct any research. Now, this research, of course, is fairly responsible for kicking off the next step in our entire entire state of our link graph, that is doing a parallelized research. Wherever the research is true, that is the subquery subsection that it will create for that specific section. So if you look at this, if you look at this specific section, it says this is the section and then the research is true. So the good way in this to understand is, you don't need to define, you don't need to do a research for each of your entire report. You could fairly control it via your your own prompt that you could define as part of your description within your pedantic model, and then it can take care of from the as a part of your LLM structured output, whether you need certain research to be created or not. Now, once this is being done, you fairly go and kick off these parallel processes. Now, if you look at it, these are all kicked off parallelly, building section with web research, and then within this there are certain strategy what we are doing. Now, if you look at this first one, decide search strategy. So if you look at this, this is the subquery that it has gotten, and then it has taken a call whether which tool it should be really going to. So it's going to web research tool. Now, fairly, if there are other sections, you could span it out and then take a look which tool it has really picked up basis on the subquery. Our report is fairly quite open that it needs to be going to mostly to the web search, so it has picked up that. But you could fairly go and experiment with certain different topics which can take a look at whether the tool is really needing a web search or Wikipedia or whatever the other tools you have defined. Now, once this decision study is done, web search query is being done, it does all these in parallel, and then it does the writing. So if you look at this, these are all the writings that are happening in this specific phase. So it is taking all the sources that it has got from the search query, and then finally, writing out a section as part of its output, which is going to be again fed in to the to the next phase, where it will try to come gather all those sections and create a finalized report. So let's look at gather completed sections, which is another phase where it is gathering all the subsections, all the sections which are created fairly from each of these reports, each of these searches. So if you look at it, these are certain sections that it has created. This is completed section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and similarly it will collect all those. It is gathering just all these at this place, all these sections, and finally into the writing final sections, it is just writing out all those sections into a report. So if you look at it, available report content section 1, similarly there would be section 2, and so on and so forth. So it will continue to look at all those sections and finally, create a final report, which will be used for the final report writing. So if we look at this final report section, it has created all those sections and then distilled them to create the final report as part of your output. So if we look at finally at the app, how things look like. So here is fairly the process that is happening. You could generate a report plan. In the report plan, once it is being done, there is a decision strategy that's happening. It does web generation of it. It takes a call which respond what needs to be done at this place. Whether it needs to call Wikipedia or any other tool which we have in, and then do the writing section, do a complete gathering of the section, final section, and complete final report. So here is the final report that it will look like, and give us the final output. So that's what we wanted to look at, how we could create a parallelize search and then create a report based on the some decision making and call certain tools basis on the subqueries. Hope you like this video. We'll continue to create some more videos while we explore LangGraph and LangSmith. Thank you.